The mining station Kepler 442 floated in the dark void between stars, its metal hull scarred by countless asteroid impacts. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation deck window, watching the repair crews work outside in their bulky spacesuits. She had been the station's chief engineer for 3 years. But the loneliness of deep space never got easier. The station housed 200 miners, engineers, and support staff who extracted rare metals from the asteroid field. It was dangerous work, but it paid well enough for Sarah to send money back to her family on Earth. She missed her daughter's birthday last month, but the holographic message she received made the sacrifice almost worthwhile. "Chen, report to the bridge immediately," crackled the intercom. Commander Martinez's voice carried an edge of worry that made Sarah's stomach tighten. She had never heard him sound scared before. The bridge was in chaos when she arrived. Officers shouted over each other while alarm lights painted everything red. Martinez stood at the center console, his weathered face pale as he stared at the main screen. "What's the situation?" Sarah asked. Martinez pointed at the display. Long-range sensors picked up something big moving through the outer asteroid field. "Really big, and it's heading straight for us." Sarah studied the readout. The object measured over 3 kilometers long and appeared to be organic rather than mechanical. Its surface pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that reminded her of deep-sea creatures from Earth's oceans. "Could it be a space whale?" suggested Dr. Patel, the station's xenobiologist. "We've documented similar creatures in other systems." "Space whales don't move like that," Sarah replied, watching the trajectory data. "Look at those course corrections. Whatever that thing is, it's intelligent and it's hunting." The communications officer suddenly straightened in his chair. "Commander, I'm picking up electromagnetic pulses from the creature. It's scanning us." Before anyone could respond, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in an eerie blue glow. The main screen flickered back to life, showing the creature much closer than before. Sarah could make out details on its surface now. Rows of what looked like eyes, each one larger than a shuttlecraft. "How did it move so fast?" Martinez whispered. "It didn't move through space," Sarah realized with growing horror. "It folded space around itself. That's why the sensors couldn't track it properly." The creature was beautiful in a terrifying way. Its skin shifted between deep purple and black, covered in patterns that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Tentacles longer than the station itself writhed around its massive body, each one tipped with something that glowed like molten metal. "All hands. Battle stations," Martinez ordered, but his voice lacked conviction. Everyone knew their mining lasers and basic defense systems would be useless against something that size. Sarah felt the deck vibrate beneath her feet as the creature approached. Through the observation windows, she could see its shadow passing over the station like a dark cloud. The temperature began dropping as it blocked out the distant stars. "It's beautiful," Dr. Patel breathed, apparently forgetting the danger they were in. "It's also the apex predator of deep space," Sarah said, accessing her personal files on her tablet. She had studied reports from other mining stations, most of which had simply vanished without a trace. The few survivors always described the same thing: a massive creature that could bend space and time, hunting anything that moved through its territory. The Leviathan, as xenobiologists had named it, was thought to be the most dangerous life form in known space. It could survive in the vacuum between stars, feeding on the energy of passing ships and space stations. Most encounters ended with complete destruction of human vessels. "Commander," the communications officer called out, "it's trying to communicate." The main screen filled with swirling patterns of light and color. The images hurt to look at directly, as if they contained too much information for human minds to process. Sarah felt a pressure in her head, like someone trying to push thoughts into her brain. Then the pain stopped, and she heard a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It spoke in perfect English, though the words carried an alien cadence that made her skin crawl. "Small creatures in metal shell. You trespass in hunting grounds. Prepare for consumption." Martinez stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is Commander Martinez of the human mining station Kepler 442. We mean no harm. We're just extracting resources from the asteroid field. Resources belong to Vashtai. You steal. You die." The creature's massive form pressed against the station's hull, causing the metal to groan under the pressure. Sarah watched in fascination as the bioluminescent patterns on its skin began pulsing faster, building toward some kind of climax. Wait, she said, stepping toward the communication console. You said your name is Vashti. The pulsing paused. Human speaks to Vashti directly. Interesting, yes. Vashti is hunter of the void, consumer of metal ships, fear of star travelers. Sarah felt everyone's eyes on her as she continued. I'm Sarah Chen, chief engineer of this station. Before you destroy us, may I ask you something? A sound like distant thunder rumbled through the station's hull. It took Sarah a moment to realize the creature was laughing. Small human asks questions of Vashti. Amusing. Ask. Vashti will answer before feeding. Sarah's mind raced. She needed to find something that would interest this creature enough to keep them alive a little longer. Looking at the readings on her tablet, she noticed something odd about the energy signatures coming from the Leviathan. You're not just a predator, are you? She said. You're in pain. The laughter stopped. The patterns on the creature's skin shifted to deeper, angrier colors. Human knows nothing of Vashti's existence. But Sarah had spent years studying the energy readings from deep space creatures, and she recognized the signs of parasitic infection. Something is feeding on you, just like you feed on us. Something you can't remove by yourself. The silence that followed stretched for long minutes. Finally, the alien voice spoke again, quieter than before. How does small human know this? Sarah took a deep breath. Because I'm an engineer, and engineers solve problems. Sarah felt the weight of everyone's stares as she waited for Vashti's response. The massive creature remained silent, its bioluminescent patterns shifting through colors she had no names for. Through the observation deck, she could see parts of its enormous body wrapped around the station like a snake coiled around prey. You claim to understand Vashti's pain, the alien voice finally rumbled through the communication system. Impossible. No creature has survived long enough to study Vashti. That's because they were all trying to fight you instead of helping you, Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across her tablet as she pulled up more sensor data. Look at these energy readings. Something is draining your life force, isn't it? Commander Martinez grabbed her arm. Chen, what are you doing? Don't provoke it. Sarah shook him off gently. I'm not provoking anything. I'm trying to save all our lives. She turned back to the communication console. Vashti, how long have you been in pain? Another long silence. Then the creature's grip on the station loosened slightly, and its colors shifted to what might have been blues and greens. Many rotations of stars. Pain grows stronger. Vashti grows weaker. Soon Vashti will join the void death. Dr. Patel stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. Can you show us where it hurts? The main screen filled with an image that made several crew members step backward. It was a cross-section view of the creature's internal structure, revealing organs the size of city blocks connected by networks of vessels that pulsed with alien blood. Near what appeared to be the heart region, Sarah could see dark masses attached to the tissue like tumors. There, Vashti said, the shadow spawn feeds. Vashti cannot reach, cannot remove, can only endure until death. Sarah studied the image carefully. The parasitic organisms were buried deep inside the creature's body, in a location that would be impossible for Vashti to reach with its own appendages. But for humans with the right equipment, how did these parasites get inside you? She asked Battle, long ago. Vashti fought the machine builders of the spiral arm. Their weapons pierced Vashti's hide, left gifts of slow death. Sarah nodded, understanding now. These weren't natural parasites, but some kind of biological weapon, designed to kill creatures like Vashti from the inside. The machine builders, whoever they were, had created the perfect weapon against spaceborne apex predators. Commander, she said, turning to Martinez, I need to assemble a surgical team. Are you insane? Martinez hissed. You want to operate on that thing? It's our only chance, Sarah insisted. Vashti is dying. When it dies, it will probably release all its stored energy at once. Do you want to be this close when a creature that size goes supernova? The thought made everyone on the bridge go quiet. Martinez looked at the tactical display showing the creature's massive form wrapped around their station. Even if you're right, he said slowly. How do we operate on something in the vacuum of space? Our medical bay isn't equipped for alien surgery. We don't use the medical bay, Sarah replied. We use the mining equipment. Precision lasers, robotic arms, atmospheric containment fields. Everything we need is already here. Dr. Patel was nodding now. It could work. The mining robots are designed for delicate operations in hostile environments. If we could modify them for biological tissue instead of asteroid mining. Vashti hears small humans planning. The alien voice interrupted. You would help the hunter of your kind? Sarah looked directly at the main screen, even though she knew the creature couldn't see her facial expressions. Every life has value, Vashti. Even the life of someone who was about to kill us 5 minutes ago. Why? Vashti has consumed many metal ships. Many small humans have died in Vashti's jaws. Why would you help? The question caught Sarah off guard. Why was she willing to risk everything to help a creature that had probably killed thousands of humans? She thought about her daughter back on Earth, about all the families who had lost loved ones to creatures like Vashti. Because that's what humans do, she said finally. We help each other. And right now we're all just living beings trying to survive in a hostile universe. The creature's colors shifted again, cycling through patterns that seemed almost thoughtful. Humans are strange. Other species flee or fight. Humans offer aid to their destroyer. Will you let us try? Sarah asked. If small humans fail, Vashti dies anyway. If small humans succeed, the voice trailed off. What would small humans want in return for this gift of life? Sarah looked around the bridge at her crewmates. She could see fear in their eyes, but also something else. Hope, maybe. Or just the stubborn human refusal to give up when faced with the impossible. Safe passage, she said. For this station and any other human ships that cross your territory. We're not your enemies, Vashti. We don't have to be your prey either. And if Vashti agrees to this bargain, then maybe you won't be alone anymore. The universe is big enough for both of us. The silence stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Finally, Vashti spoke again, and Sarah thought she could hear something like wonder in the alien voice. Very well, Sarah Chen. Vashti submits to human healing. But know this. If you fail, if this is trick to harm Vashti, the death will be quick for you. Slow for others. Sarah felt her knees go weak with relief. Understood. But we won't fail. Humans are very good at fixing broken things. She turned to address the bridge crew. Okay, people, we have work to do. Dr. Patel, I need you to study those parasite scans and figure out the safest way to remove them. Commander, I'll need access to the mining bay and permission to modify the equipment. And someone get me coffee because this is going to be a very long day. As the crew scattered to their tasks, Sarah remained at the communication console. Outside, Vashti's massive form pulsed with patterns that might have been gratitude or might have been skepticism. Either way, they had bought themselves time. Now all they had to do was perform surgery on the most dangerous predator in known space, using mining equipment and hope. Sarah had faced worse odds before, but she couldn't remember when. The mining bay had been transformed into something that barely resembled its original purpose. Where once massive robotic arms had carved apart asteroids, now delicate surgical instruments hung suspended in protective fields. Sarah stood before a wall of monitors showing Vashti's internal structure in real time, the parasitic masses glowing like malignant stars against the alien tissue. Atmospheric containment field is stable, reported Chief Technician Rodriguez from his position at the control console. Surgical robots are calibrated and ready for biological tissue. Dr. Patel hunched over his tablet, occasionally glancing up at the creature's anatomical display. I've identified 17 separate parasitic organisms. They're connected to the host's circulatory system, feeding directly from the blood supply. If we remove them too quickly, Vashti could bleed to death. Sarah nodded, her mind already working through the procedure. We'll need to seal the blood vessels as we cut. The mining lasers can cauterize, but we'll need to adjust their power settings for alien biology. Through the bay's massive airlock, Vashti's flesh was visible as a dark wall that stretched beyond sight. The creature had positioned itself carefully, exposing the area where the parasites were lodged. Sarah could see the subtle pulsing of its circulatory system beneath the skin, each beat strong enough to power a small city. Sarah Chen, came Vashti's voice through the communication system. Vashti grows weaker. The shadow spawn feeds more aggressively. Time grows short. We're almost ready, Sarah called back. But I need you to do something for us. Can you slow your heart rate? The blood flow is too strong for us to work safely. Vashti will try, but this may cause pain beyond endurance. Sarah felt a chill at those words. If a creature that had survived eons in space considered something painful beyond endurance, what did that say about their chances of success? Dr. Patel, she said. What kind of anesthesia works on alien biology? The xenobiologist shook his head. Unknown. Vashatai's nervous system is completely unlike anything we've studied. What helps us might poison the creature, and what helps the creature might not work at all. Then we do this the hard way, Sarah decided. She activated the communication link. Vashatai, we're going to start the procedure. It's going to hurt. A lot. Vashatai has endured pain for many star cycles. Begin. Sarah took a deep breath and activated the surgical robot. The mechanical arm extended through the airlock, its sensors mapping the creature's skin in microscopic detail. The first incision would be the most critical, creating an entry point large enough for the removal tools but small enough to heal properly. Beginning first cut, she announced. The laser scalpel made contact with Vashtai's hide. Immediately, the creature's bioluminescent patterns flared to blinding intensity, cycling through colors that hurt to look at directly. The hull of the mining station groaned as massive muscles contracted in response to the pain. Vital signs are spiking, Dr. Patel reported. Heart rate is through the roof. If this continues, the creature could go into cardiac arrest. Vashatai, Sarah called out. Talk to me. How are you feeling? The response came as a sound somewhere between a roar and a whistle that rattled every loose object in the mining bay. When it finally translated into words, Sarah could hear the strain in the alien voice. Pain is intense, but Vashtai endures. Continue. The first parasite was visible now through the incision, a dark mass about the size of a human torso attached to a major blood vessel. Sarah maneuvered the surgical robot's arms with the precision of someone who had spent years operating mining equipment in zero gravity. Cutting parasitic attachment point, she announced, adjusting the laser's power to minimal settings. Rodriguez, prepare the cauterization beam. The parasite came free with a wet sound that echoed through the mining bay's speakers. Alien blood, dark as space and glowing with its own inner light, began to flow from the wound until Rodriguez's cauterization beam sealed the vessel. One down, Sarah said, but her voice was tight with concentration. 16 to go. The second parasite proved more difficult. It had grown deeper into the tissue, wrapping itself around what Dr. Patel identified as a nerve cluster. Removing it would require extreme precision to avoid permanent damage to Vashtai's nervous system. The creature is remarkably resilient, Dr. Patel observed, watching the readings on his medical scanner. Its healing factor is already trying to repair the first incision site. Sarah nodded, but her attention remained focused on the delicate work before her. The mining robots had been designed for precision work, but this was beyond anything their creators had imagined. She was performing microsurgery on a cosmic scale, using tools meant for asteroid mining to save the life of humanity's greatest enemy. Sarah Chen, Vashtai's voice was weaker now, strained by pain and blood loss. Vashtai feels strange. Sensations return to parts of body long numb. That's good, Sarah replied, carefully extracting another parasite. It means the procedure is working. Your nervous system is recovering. Vashtai has forgotten many things. Forgotten what it feels like to move without pain. As they worked deeper into the creature's body, Sarah began to understand the true extent of the damage. The parasites hadn't just been feeding on Vashatai's energy. They had been systematically destroying its nervous system, leaving entire sections of the creature's massive body numb and unresponsive. How long has it been since you could feel your tail section? Sarah asked as she removed a particularly large parasite from what appeared to be a spinal nerve. Many star cycles. Vashatai thought it natural consequence of age. Sarah felt a surge of anger at the cruelty of the weapon. Whoever had created these parasites had designed them not just to kill, but to inflict maximum suffering over the longest possible time. It was torture disguised as warfare. Well, you should be able to feel it again soon, she said, sealing another blood vessel. We're making good progress. The work continued for hours. Sarah's back ached from bending over the controls and her eyes burned from staring at the monitors. But gradually, the parasites were removed one by one. Each extraction brought visible improvements to Vashatai's condition. The creature's bioluminescent patterns grew brighter and more complex, painting the mining bay in swirling colors. Last one, Sarah announced, as she positioned the robot's arms around the final parasite. This one was the largest, wrapped around what Dr. Patel had identified as a major neural junction. This might hurt more than the others. Vashatai is ready. The final parasite resisted removal, its tendrils dug deep into the surrounding tissue. Sarah had to cut away sections of damaged nerve fiber, hoping that Vashti's healing factor would regenerate what was lost. The creature's entire body convulsed as the last invader was pulled free, colors flashing so rapidly that the bridge crew had to shield their eyes. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. "Vashti," Sarah called out, suddenly terrified that they had come this far only to lose the creature to the final extraction. When the response came, it was in a voice she barely recognized, strong, clear, filled with something that might have been joy. "Vashti is free." The change in Vashti was immediate and startling. The creature's bioluminescent patterns, which had been dim and sporadic, now blazed with brilliant colors that painted the mining station in shifting rainbows. For the first time since the encounter began, Sarah could see the true beauty of the cosmic predator. "Vashti feels everything," the alien voice said, wonder replacing the pain that had colored its words before. Sensations Vashti had forgotten returned like distant memories made real. Sarah leaned back from the control console, exhaustion washing over her like a physical weight. The surgical robots retracted into their housings, their work finally complete. Around the mining bay, her crew stood in stunned silence, hardly believing they had succeeded. "How do you feel?" Dr. Patel asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his fatigue. "Strong. Stronger than Vashti has felt in countless star cycles. The shadow spawn had been stealing more than energy. They stole sensation, movement, even thought itself." Through the observation windows, Sarah could see sections of the creature's massive body that had been motionless before now moving with fluid grace. Tentacles that had hung limp now coiled and uncoiled with purposeful motion, and the creature's skin showed patterns of complexity that spoke of a vast intelligence finally freed from constant pain. "Vashti owes debt to small humans," the voice continued, "a debt that cannot be repaid with mere safe passage." Commander Martinez stepped forward, his diplomat's instincts finally kicking in. "No debt is necessary. We help each other. That's what civilized beings do." "Civilized." Vashti repeated the word slowly as if tasting it. Vashti has forgotten this concept. For too long, pain made Vashti into nothing but hunger and rage. Small humans remind Vashti of what it once was. Sarah felt a chill of realization. "You weren't always a predator, were you?" The silence that followed stretched for long minutes. When Vashti finally spoke, its voice carried the weight of eons. "Once Vashti's kind were builders, gardeners of space. We shaped worlds, guided young species, created beauty among the stars. Then came the machine builders with their hunger for conquest." The main screen filled with images that took Sarah's breath away. Star systems arranged in perfect mathematical spirals, worlds covered in cities that looked like living coral, space habitats that spun like jeweled flowers in the void. It was a civilization beyond human imagination, one that had existed when Earth's oceans were still young. "They destroyed everything," Vashti continued, "poisoned the garden worlds, turned the deep spaces into hunting grounds. The few of Vashti's kind who survived became what they needed to become to survive. Predators, killers, forgetting what we once were." Dr. Patel was frantically taking notes. "How long ago did this happen?" "Before your sun learned to burn, before your world grew its first life. Vashti has been alone for longer than your species has existed." The magnitude of that loneliness hit Sarah like a physical blow. To be the last of your kind, driven mad by pain and isolation for millions of years. No wonder Vashti had become a monster. The real wonder was that anything remained of the being it had once been. "You're not alone anymore," she said softly. "Small humans cannot replace what was lost." "No," Sarah agreed, "but maybe we can help you build something new." The patterns on Vashti's skin shifted to colors Sarah was learning to recognize as curiosity. "What does Sarah Chen mean?" Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing understanding dawn on their faces. They were witnessing something unprecedented in human history. First contact not just with an alien species, but with the last survivor of an ancient civilization. "We're explorers, Vashti. We're out here looking for new worlds, new knowledge, new friends. We could use a guide who knows the deep spaces better than anyone. You would trust the hunter of your kind to guide you?" "You're not a hunter anymore," Sarah said firmly. "You're Vashti, builder, gardener, the last keeper of knowledge that could benefit both our species." The creature's massive form began to withdraw from the mining station, but slowly, carefully, without the aggressive postures Sarah had seen before. Through the observation deck, she could see Vashatai hovering nearby, its bioluminescent patterns now showing what she was beginning to recognize as deep thought. There are things in the deep spaces, Vashatai said finally, remnants of the garden worlds, knowledge preserved in hidden places, wonders that small humans have never imagined. Show us, Sarah said without hesitation. And dangers. The machine builders left guardians. Weapons that still hunt. Traps that turn explorers into slaves or corpses. We'll face them together, Commander Martinez said, stepping up beside Sarah. Humans are good at dealing with impossible odds. Why? The question came with genuine confusion. Why would small humans risk themselves for knowledge of dead civilizations? Sarah thought about that for a moment, searching for words that would convey the essential human drive that pushed them always toward the unknown. Because that's what we do, she said finally. We explore, we learn, we grow, and we never leave friends behind. The silence that followed was different from the others. This one felt pregnant with possibility, heavy with the weight of decisions that would shape the future of both species. Vashatai will consider, the alien finally said. But first there is something small humans must understand. The machine builders may be gone, but their weapons remain. If Vashatai guides humans to the garden worlds, other guardians will wake. Other hunters will come. Let them come, Sarah said with a confidence she didn't entirely feel. They've never faced humans before. And you have never faced the true servants of the machine builders. They make Vashtai's old rage look like a gentle breeze. Dr. Patel looked up from his notes. If they're that dangerous, why risk showing us these places at all? Because, Vashatai's voice took on a quality Sarah hadn't heard before, something that might have been hope. Perhaps it is time for the gardens to bloom again. Perhaps small humans are the seed that will grow into something beautiful. Sarah felt tears she didn't expect welling up in her eyes. They had come out here to mine asteroids and had instead found the last gardener of an ancient cosmos, wounded and forgotten, hiding behind the mask of a predator. Then we have work to do, she said. Through the observation deck, Vashtai's patterns pulsed with what Sarah now recognized as agreement. The most dangerous predator in known space had made its choice, and humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the surgery, and the mining station had become something entirely different. What was once a lonely outpost in the void had transformed into humanity's first embassy to the deep cosmos. Vashatai remained nearby, sometimes visible as a massive shadow against the stars, sometimes disappearing into the void only to return with new wonders. Sarah stood in the redesigned observation deck, now equipped with translation equipment and displays, showing star charts unlike anything in human databases. The maps showed not just stars and planets, but the hidden pathways between them, the secret routes that ancient civilizations had used to travel impossible distances. Another supply ship will arrive next week, Commander Martinez reported, joining her at the window. The Earth Council is sending xenoarchaeologists, linguists, and cultural specialists. They want a full diplomatic mission established here. Sarah nodded, but her attention remained focused on the swirling patterns of light that marked Vashatai's location. The creature had been sharing fragments of its memories, showing them glimpses of worlds that had been gardens when Earth was still a molten ball of rock. Have you decided whether to go with it to the first site? Martinez asked. It's not my decision alone anymore, Sarah replied. This is bigger than any one person. Through the communication system, Vashatai's voice reached them. Sarah Chen, Vashatai has prepared the first destination, a small garden world close to your territories. Safe for small human ships? Sarah activated the communication panel. What will we find there? Knowledge, beauty, perhaps hope. There was a pause, and when Vashatai spoke again, its voice carried something that might have been nervousness. Also, the first test of human worthiness. Test? Martinez frowned. What kind of test? The garden worlds were not left undefended. Vashtai's people built guardians to protect the most precious places. These guardians will judge whether small humans are ready for such gifts. Sarah felt a familiar chill. And if we're judged unworthy? Then you will join the countless other species whose bones decorate the garden paths. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the intercom from his laboratory. Sarah, you need to see this. I've been analyzing the cultural data that Vashatai shared yesterday. The laboratory had become a treasure trove of xenoarchaeological information. Holographic displays showed the rise and fall of dozens of ancient civilizations, each one unique but all connected by the guiding hand of Vashatai's people, who seemed to have served as cosmic gardeners for millions of years. "Look at this pattern," Dr. Patel said, highlighting sections of the historical timeline. Every species that was given access to the garden worlds eventually transcended their original limitations. They became something greater than they were before. Sarah studied the data, seeing the progression clearly. Species that started as simple tool users became master builders of worlds. Primitive hunters evolved into cosmic philosophers. Warlike empires transformed into peaceful explorers of infinite possibility. It's not just knowledge they were sharing, she realized. It's evolution, guided evolution towards something better. Exactly. But here's the interesting part. Dr. Patel pulled up another display. The testing process wasn't about technological advancement or military strength. It was about character, compassion, the willingness to sacrifice for others. Sarah thought about their first encounter with Vashatai, how they had chosen to help rather than flee or fight. Had that been the first test? Had they already proven themselves worthy without knowing it? "Dr. Patel," she said slowly, "what happened to the species that failed the tests?" They were left alone. Not destroyed, just ignored. Allowed to develop naturally without guidance. Most never advanced beyond their home systems. Through the laboratory speakers, Vashtai's voice joined the conversation. "Dr. Patel speaks truth. The gardens were gifts for those ready to receive them. Others were left to find their own paths." "And humanity?" Sarah asked.
"Are we ready?"
Small humans showed compassion to their destroyer, offered healing to their hunter. This suggests readiness, but the Guardians will decide with certainty. Sarah made her decision. "Then let's go meet these Guardians." The journey to the garden world took 2 days, with Vashatai guiding their exploration vessel through space folds that cut across impossible distances. Sarah watched through the ship's viewports as stars wheeled past in patterns that defied conventional physics, feeling like an ancient sailor following mysterious currents to unknown shores. When they emerged from the final fold, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The world before them was like something from a dream, its surface covered in geometrical patterns that were both beautiful and clearly artificial. Cities rose in spirals that seemed to grow from the landscape itself, and the oceans shimmered with colors that had no names in any human language. "The first garden," Vashatai said, its voice filled with ancient longing. "Here the builders of the crystal deep learned to sing new worlds into existence. Here the wanderers of the void discovered how to plant seeds of life in the emptiest spaces." "It's incredible," Dr. Patel whispered, his instruments recording everything. "The biodiversity readings are off the charts. And those structures, they're grown, not built. Biological architecture that's been shaped by conscious will." Sarah was about to respond when the ship's sensors detected movement on the planet's surface. Something massive was rising from what had appeared to be a mountain range, unfolding like a flower made of living crystal and metal. As it straightened to its full height, Sarah realized it was easily the size of a city. "The Guardian awakens," Vashatai said. "Be ready, small humans. Your worthiness will now be judged." A voice filled the ship's communication system, speaking in harmonies that seemed to resonate in Sarah's bones. When the translation matrix finally parsed the alien language, the words carried an authority that made her knees weak. Unknown vessels approached the first garden. "State your purpose and prepare for examination." Sarah stepped forward to the communication panel, feeling the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. "I am Sarah Chen, representing the human species. We come seeking knowledge and friendship guided by our friend Vashatai." Vashatai. The Guardian's voice carried surprise and what might have been sorrow. "Last of the Shapers, hunter of the deep dark. You have returned to the gardens after eons of exile. Why do you bring these new small ones?" "Because," Vashatai replied. They healed Vashatai when healing meant their own death. They showed compassion to their destroyer. They may be ready for what the gardens offer. The Guardian fell silent for long minutes. Sarah could see its massive form scanning their ship with energies that made her skin tingle. Finally, it spoke again. "Very well. The humans will be tested. But know this, last Shaper. If they fail, you will share their fate. Are you willing to accept this judgment?" Sarah felt her heart stop. Vashatai was risking everything for them, betting its ancient life on humanity's character. "Vashatai is willing," came the response without hesitation. "Then let the testing begin." The Guardian's test began without warning. One moment, Sarah was standing on the bridge of their exploration vessel. The next, she found herself alone on the surface of the garden world, surrounded by crystalline trees that hummed with inner light. Her crew was nowhere to be seen, and her communication equipment had gone silent. "Welcome, human Sarah Chen," came a voice that seemed to emanate from the very air around her. "You have been separated from your companions so that each may face judgment individually. This is the way of the testing." Sarah looked around at the alien landscape, trying to orient herself. The ground beneath her feet felt soft and warm, covered in something that was part grass and part living circuit board. In the distance, she could see the Guardian's massive form standing motionless against the sky. "What kind of test is this?" she asked. "The test of choice," the voice replied. "You will face 3 scenarios. In each, you must choose between personal safety and the welfare of others. Your choices will determine not only your fate, but the fate of your species." The world around Sarah shimmered and changed. She found herself back on the mining station, but everything was wrong. Emergency alarms blared, and through the observation deck windows she could see Vashti approaching with the same aggressive postures as their first encounter. "The parasites have returned," the voice explained. "Vashti is dying, consumed by pain and rage. You can save yourself by fleeing in an escape pod, leaving your crew to face the creature's wrath alone, or you can remain and try to help, knowing that you will likely die in the attempt." Sarah didn't hesitate. "I stay and help. My crew is my responsibility." The scene shifted. Now she stood in the mining bay, surgical equipment around her. But the readings on her screens were all wrong. The parasites had grown larger, more aggressive. Removing them would require her to physically enter Vashti's body, with almost no chance of survival. "Even knowing the cost?" the voice asked. "Especially knowing the cost," Sarah replied. "That's when courage matters most." The second scenario materialized around her. She was aboard a human colony ship, crowded with thousands of refugees fleeing a dying world. Ahead, an ancient guardian, much like the one judging her now, blocked their path to a safe star system. "The Guardian offers a bargain," the voice explained. "It will allow the ship to pass, but only if you remain behind as a hostage. Your people will be safe, but you will be imprisoned forever in the deep spaces." Sarah thought of her daughter, waiting for her back on Earth. She thought of all the families aboard the colony ship, desperate for a new home. "I accept the bargain," she said quietly. "One life for thousands. It's not even a difficult choice." The final scenario was the cruelest. Sarah found herself on Earth, in her childhood home, with her daughter running toward her with arms outstretched. But as her daughter reached her, the little girl began to change, revealing herself as one of the machine builder's artificial creatures, designed to harvest human emotions and memories. "You can destroy it," the voice said, "but to do so you must accept that your real daughter died long ago, killed by the machine builders as bait for this trap. You can live in the comforting lie and die happy, or face the truth and live with unbearable loss." This time Sarah hesitated. The false daughter looked so real, so perfect. It would be easy to simply accept the illusion and let herself be harvested. She would die believing she had saved her child. But lies, no matter how comforting, were still lies. "I choose truth," she whispered, tears streaming down her face as the false daughter dissolved into sparks of malevolent energy. The testing ground faded around her, and Sarah found herself back aboard the ship with her crew. Dr. Patel was unconscious but breathing, and Commander Martinez looked pale and shaken. Through the viewports, the Guardian watched them with eyes like galaxies. "The testing is complete," the ancient voice announced. "All humans have chosen sacrifice over safety, truth over comfort, courage over fear. You are deemed worthy of the Garden's gifts." Sarah felt relief wash over her, but also a deep sadness for what the test had revealed about the universe. The machine builders are still out there, aren't they? Still hunting, still destroying. "Yes," the Guardian confirmed. "They slumber in the dark between galaxies, but they will wake eventually. When they do, the cosmos will need defenders." Vashti's voice joined the conversation, carrying a note of something that might have been hope. "Small humans have proven themselves. Perhaps they can succeed where Vashti's people failed." "Perhaps," the Guardian agreed. "But first they must learn. The Gardens hold the accumulated knowledge of 1,000,000 civilizations, technologies that seem like magic, wisdom that spans eons. All of this we offer freely with one condition." "What condition?" Sarah asked. "That you remember what brought you here. Compassion for your enemies. Sacrifice for strangers, the willingness to heal rather than harm. Power without wisdom destroys everything it touches. Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility being offered. We'll remember. And when the machine builders wake, they'll find that the universe has new gardeners. The Guardian's massive form began to move, stepping aside to reveal pathways that led deeper into the garden world. Then welcome, young gardeners, to your inheritance. Let the real learning begin. As their ship descended toward the crystal cities below, Sarah watched Vashti gliding alongside them, its bioluminescent patterns now showing complex emotions she was beginning to understand. Joy, hope, and something that might have been pride in the small humans who had chosen to heal their destroyer. Vashti, she called through the communication system. What happens now? Now Sarah Chen, Vashti teaches small humans to be something greater than they were. And perhaps together we will ensure that no other last survivor spends eons alone in the dark. Looking out at the wonders waiting below, Sarah smiled. Humanity had come to the stars as miners and explorers. They would return as something far more important. The inheritors of an ancient trust, gardeners of a cosmos that had been too long without hope. The most powerful predator in the universe had submitted not to human strength, but to human compassion. And in doing so, it had given them the greatest gift imaginable, the chance to become worthy of the stars themselves. As they landed among the crystal spires, Sarah knew this was not an ending, but a beginning. The real adventure, the one that would determine the future of all life in the cosmos, was just starting. And for the first time in eons, Vashti would not face it alone.